Yes. Yes, actually. Uh, we'll be discussing a little bit of this here on the stream today of like what are my predictions and everything for the upcoming year.
Yeah.
So, might as well just like going ahead and get all into that. Like, what exactly do I predict is going to be happening come 2026? I'll give you like the I'll give you like the rapid fire drive by for that right here. Okay. I think that the EU either implodes or comes very close to it. And that's going to cause like some serious financial turmoil. I think that the yen is going to get weaker, which means the US dollar will get stronger, which is good for inflation, but is bad for crypto and other assets that are denominated in dollar bills. I think that the inflation target, though, we will undershoot the 2% inflation target for the Fed starting probably January, February of next year, which is good because it makes the case for more interest rate cuts and turning on the money printers. I think that the tariffs are going to get overruled. I don't know if they will be reversed, but that also makes the case for money printers, and a lot of the uncertainty that is holding crypto down, I think, goes away. I think that Lisa Cook is going to be upheld. I mean, she's not going to be fired. They're going to uphold the fact that the president doesn't have the right to fire her. So that's going to be somebody that's probably against the money printer over on the Fed Board of Governors. I do think Kevin Hassett will be made the Federal Reserve Board chairman, but how much power he's going to have still remains to be seen. The first 6 months of next year, in short, will be horrible, or at least sideways for crypto. But I do think improvement comes in the late summer when a lot of this uncertainty about the Fed, a lot of this uncertainty about the tariffs is all gone. And that way, we're going to start seeing more positive things like people got their tax refunds, more money circulating the economy, a lot more money that's going to end up in financial assets, the money printer going off and everything. I think until then, and probably throughout the entire year, it'll be like the most volatile year of your life because we're still fighting that whole 4 year cycle belief. Like a lot of people are going to be thinking, oh, I got to get out now because the 4 year cycle says it's all over. Or, oh, I better get in now because the 4 year cycle just got broken. I don't want to miss out. So it's going to be super volatile. And for
So
that
you're not
reason,
you're not a 4-year cycle believer?
no, I'm a cycle believer, but not a 4 year cycle believer because I don't think time tells markets what to do. And I think that for this reason, if you're going to be in the RH ecosystem, you need to have a non RH reason to be in the RH ecosystem, which is what we discussed last night in Tam Tam Spaces. That you better have another reason to be here than just, oh, I believe in Richard Hart and I think he's great. Because as we're seeing right now, everything that he's doing a lot. I mean, he's constantly like all over Twitter. He made videos recently. He's spending a lot of money on marketing. It's not helping the price any. We look at like the president of the United States supports crypto, and crypto had a year that sucked. Even though the most powerful man in the world supports it and believes in it and has a lot of his wealth tied up into it, still, it was
Well, he
a
wants to
horrible
speculate,
year.
so took a
Horrible
lot of
year.
retail's money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if the president of the United States doesn't even have that kind of power, why do we think Richard has that kind of power, even for his own chain? Like, nobody has that kind of power. It's all dependent on the money printer. It's all dependent on credit creation. It's all dependent on the surge of liquidity that comes when the debt cycle finally cycles through and all this debt that's out there in the system has to be rolled over and refinanced. So until that happens, we are going to be sideways, possibly down. And I think that the first 3 months of next year are going to be the most painful ones of next year because you'll have some profit takers that will be selling early into the year because it's a new year to take profit and not worry about the taxes. And there'll be a lot of people that are thinking, oh my gosh, 4 year cycle's all over. I got to get out now. And they do it right then. And it'll also be like a very long time before people get like all their taxes done and get money to be able to invest in crypto. So that's how I see 2026 play out.
All right.
So you're saying there's a chance?
That's what I heard. I heard a lot of positive things, like one or two positive things amongst a dozen or so negative things. And I'm going to focus on the positive.
Well, bear in mind that the negatives can lead to the positives, because if the EU implodes, or if the whole yen carry trade unwinds, that's where you're going to see the Fed have an emergency meeting like they did in 2020, bring interest rates all the way down to zero or do some sort of aggressive interest rate cut, and turn on the money printers and do a whole bunch. And when it comes to like the money printers, I'm going to play this on today's stream. I had a conversation in the spaces with Peter Schiff. We went back and forth for a little bit because he believes that money printer is getting turned on and it's going to be aggressively printing. We're not talking about like the little itty bitty printing they're doing right now where it's just a few billion each month. He's saying trillions are going to be printed. And he's not the only one. There was another guy I was listening to on Thoughtful Money today, Lawrence something. I forget what his last name was. And he says, yeah, trillions are coming. Right now, everybody just thinks, well, it's what Lynn Alden calls the constant print instead of the big print. I think a big print is coming, but they're not going to do it until they have some justification, some kind of excuse they can hide behind, such as turmoil in the EU, which we will probably get because definitely the war is lost over on the Ukraine side, and that's going to have some serious, devastating consequences for the EU. I mean, Ursula von der Leyen, I don't know how she escapes with her head if that happens, or if, say, the yen continues to weaken and then the BOJ has to step in and strengthen the yen, well, they're going to be buying it up. And you see, as the yen gets stronger, well, then all of the borrowed yen, all the loans that you have that were borrowed in yen, they become more expensive to pay back. So you see a lot of assets get sold, a lot of American assets as well get sold to pay those things back. And that
yen, which is Japan, right? What about Vietnamese dong? What is the future of the dong?
I think that one is it kind of does exactly, or it follows along with what the Chinese yuan does. So it does. I mean, even if it didn't, it's not big enough to be consequential in any way.
It's not very big. The Vietnamese dong is typically not very big. I agree.
Mm-hmm. That's right. What you need, you got to pay attention to like the four biggest currencies out there in circulation, or the four biggest central banks. Because like when we say fiat printing is what causes crypto to go up, that's my thesis. That's Cairo's law that I will trademark and have carved into stone if I'm proven right here in this cycle. If when we pay attention to fiat, there's really only three of those currencies we should pay attention to, and that's the yen, US dollars, and the euro. I don't think we should pay much attention to the yuan because any money printing that China does goes into their industrial economy and goes into real estate, whereas the other three, the money printing and credit creation they do, a big chunk of it goes directly into financial assets.
Or they could just pay off those loans in fake gold bars.
Yeah, could do that.
Yeah.
I mean, not even Peter Schiff can tell if it's real or not.
Are not big. Like yuan and dong, we would say we're amongst the smallest. I did a quick internet search. I don't know if I'm off topic here, but it says the Congo is the biggest actually. So I'm going to go heavy into Congolese francs. Because the internet says the Congo is the biggest, and Vietnam, Vietnamese dong is the smallest.
Interesting. The dong is the smallest. It's very, very emasculating there. It's about maybe that's what Leah Halpern is into, because you see this. Apparently, she thinks that 2025 was this amazing bullish year where so many people got rich. So she's posting all over X trying to like gaslight people into thinking, oh, you missed out and you held on too long and that's why you lost money here. And you're going to see a bunch of that. I think you're going to see a bunch of that, particularly as the year turns around, because what happened was a lot of these influencers, a lot of these streamers predicted that 2025 was going to be a great year. You heard Wendy O constantly saying, "Oh, we are in a super cycle. We are in a super cycle," which never materialized.
Yep.
And so, in order to save face and keep themselves from having people come after them with the pitchforks, they got to lie now and say, "Oh yeah, 2025 was a great year. You were just in the wrong coins." I mean, I can
If you
show
had
you
a
the
crystal
chart.
ball, like, you could be rich. I'm with you on that.
Mhm.
But if you did not have a crystal ball, chances are you didn't do very well.
Right. What we've seen in past crypto cycles is that it really doesn't matter what you pick. All right, because we know Hart's law in our ecosystem, but in the larger crypto market, there are similar forces because most of these coins, they all trade on the same order books, and a lot of them are all paired in the same liquidity pools. So just buying one of them pushes up all of them. In fact, we're kind of like seeing the negative side of that because as people capitulate over on Ethereum and abandon it, well, that's also hurting us over here in Pulse Chain and in the Richard Hart ecosystem because we're so heavily paired and so heavily dependent on Ethereum. And we're suffering the consequences of that, as you can see. Like almost every day, you see at least a 5% decline in every single one of the core coins. And you're like, oh, how in the heck is that possible to be going on every day? I mean, do we ever run out of sellers or anything? And a lot of it's not because of our sellers over in our ecosystem, not always because of us. It's just because of like how heavily dependent we are on Ethereum. And as Ethereum is being capitulated and abandoned by a lot of people because Vitalik refuses to get his act together, that keeps pushing us down. And what else I also would say?
Vitalik's problem.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just asking, what's Vitalik's problem?
Vitalik's problem is this here, is that he has too many people in the Ethereum Foundation that don't understand that in order to get people excited and interested and believing in your invention, you gotta give them an incentive, which is a universal incentive out there. It's called money. And if you show people that you're gonna help them make money, well, then they're happy to come work for you. They're happy to market for you, to develop for you, to do all sorts of things to make your vision incredible. I mean, look at us over here in Pulse Chain. Why do we have 200, 300 YouTubers out there? Why do we have 200, 300 websites dedicated to either Pulse Chain or Hex? Why do we have like such a vibrant, enthusiastic, cult-like community? Is because Richard, we know, believes in winning, and he has a track record of incredible investment returns. And we believe that we're going to be able to repeat those. And that's why so many people are happy to stream for free, happy to develop websites for free, happy to build on Pulse Chain for free with no promise of anything in return. Over on Ethereum, though, do you see Vitalik doing anything like that to encourage people to build on Ethereum? No, you see the exact opposite. What you see is him only paying less than 6 figures to developers when they could make 5 times that amount of money going to AI. And then what they do when that's brought up, when that's brought to their attention at the Ethereum Foundation, they go, oh, well, we don't want the people who are just going to be here for the money. The same HR bullcrap that you probably heard in almost every job interview process where they always say, well, we didn't want to advertise what this job pays here. We would rather you waste your time right here because we don't want somebody that's here just for the money. Everybody does everything, anything at all for some kind of personal gain, no matter what. All right? I mean, like even if we took like the most pure interaction of humans, the most purified interaction of all humanity, love, still that is a transaction. It's just the currency that changed because as human beings, we all have a very limited amount of time. We only live for about 33,000 days. So if I do anything at all, it is going to cost me time. If I'm going to do anything for Vitalik or the Ethereum Foundation, it's going to cost me time. I must be compensated for it, and I must be compensated in a way that motivates me to want to go work for Ethereum, more so than work for some new AI firm that's somehow able to rack up all this money, raise all this money on a credit card that just like has no limit, and they're apparently now issuing out 30-year bonds for technology that will be obsolete in 5 years. So, yes, when I look at Ethereum, it's a joke. It's an absolute joke. And I don't understand why anybody holds
they're
it.
focusing on a traditional finance right now. Ethereum's trying to get their hands in that.
They're trying. Or I think it's more so that it's more so Tom Lee than anything else. Like, I really don't see much from the Ethereum Foundation that's out there trying to be like, oh, yeah, you should come over here on Ethereum. Like, I see Solana do that. But, I mean, remember that really outrageous thing. I forget what the woman's name was, but there was a woman that was practically in charge of the Ethereum Foundation. And she said the quiet part out loud, like, oh, we're not too concerned about the price of Ethereum here. We're interested in building something awesome or building some great world-changing technology. And Vitalik backed her up and went after everybody that called her out and said, oh, if you're going to be calling her out, you're making my job harder. And I'm like, hey, Vitalik, for all of this piss poor dragging your heels, refusing to acknowledge something very basic in human nature that people need incentives for every second that you do that, you're making everybody's life harder because you and your pitiful performance so far this year, I think, has been one of the quite possibly the number one or number two contender for why 2025 sucked so bad. I mean, why would anybody invest in any altcoin ever when the number one altcoin, at best, on its best day, only added 2% to its previous cycle high? Why would you do it?
Good question.
Yep. And I think that if they don't get their act together, that is an enormous threat to all of crypto, specifically altcoins. If they don't get their act together, there is a possibility that every single altcoin could be dead forever, because why would you ever invest in an altcoin when the number two one can't even add more than 2% after 5 years?
On that note, we want to say hi to Susie Q. How you doing, Susie Q? Good to see you in here.
Hello, Susie Q. That'd be my most bearish take, is like, how bad could it possibly be? Could possibly get to a point here where, like, there's only Bitcoin and there's stable coins, all because Ethereum refused to get their act together. And the one ray of light that we have on that is that we got Tom Lee, and hopefully we get some more Tom Lees that buy up enough of this stuff here and have a hostile takeover. Or if you want to do like the most rip the Band-Aid off in the worst way possible, just do what I say, and that's if you're holding any Ethereum, sell it now, dump it. Let's wreck the chart. And that might get Vitalik's attention if he's down to like 700 on his price tag and Solana passes him. And Solana is now the number two coin, or Binance is now the number two coin.
That would be ridiculous, but it could happen.
It would be a big deal, and I do think he that would be a wake up call for him. He would get off of his butt and he would get his head out of his butt, and then get right to work and reclaim the number two position. But
I think maybe he just has to break up with his girlfriend and he'll start working again.
Exactly. His girlfriend or his boyfriend or whatever way he swings nowadays. So that's the worst thing that I think could happen. What's the probability of that? I don't assign it a very high probability. I give it like a 10% probability. The worst thing for us that I think could happen, and I give it a 50% probability, is that we could be adding a 0 behind the decimal of each one of the core coins. I do think that that's possible, as the next 3 months just continue to suck. And then the next 3 months after that, if it goes sideways, now it comes back. It does come back. You see, all this, we give it enough time, all this recency bias and all this negative sentiment goes away. But until then, I think that's the worst it could get for us, is that we add another zero onto each one of the core coins, which will be an amazing buying opportunity for everybody out there that still has dry powder.
Earlier in the show, Pyro, I was talking about how people were probably doing wash trading on crypto right now to take losses in 2025. Do you think that's reflecting on the price at the moment?
That was a part of why Q4 this year sucked so bad, is because there was a lot of tax loss harvesting. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right now is the last time to do it, last day to do it. And if you do it, bear in mind that the wash sale rules don't apply to crypto, so you could buy right back in. I don't advise doing that on any of the pulse chain assets, though, just because the liquidity on the chain is incredibly low. So when you sell, you will get very little money for it. And when you go to buy back in, you will pay higher prices than you sold for. So I don't advise doing it on
Almost
pulse
certainly.
chain.
But like as far as like prices go, like likely the big guys who were doing that have probably done it already. Like they're not waiting to the last minute of December 31st. So I think in my mind that makes December 31st being possibly one of the best buying days, if you have any dry powder whatsoever, because the big guys have probably already left with intention of possibly buying back as early as 12 hours from now.
Yep. I think that that part is over, but then like as the new year turns over, we will have, instead of tax loss harvesters, we may have tax profit takers. Because there's still a handful of coins that are in profit for this cycle, like XRP, Solana, those Binance, those guys are in profit right now. And a little bit of Bitcoin is in profit as well. So I think that people will take profits at the beginning of next year, and that's going to just cause the overall market to not look so great. But that's all right, because it's just going to last for probably the first 3 months, and then things improve as people get their tax returns back, as a lot of the economic uncertainty starts to wind down and go away.
Hey, Cairo, got a question for you, or your opinion, thoughts on it. So you're talking about Ethereum and getting its act in order, blah, 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 right? And I don't mean that negatively. I just mean, the talk about it. So I've always, I shouldn't say always, over the last 3 or 4 years, I came to this conclusion that money means something, right?
Right.
And Saylor's done, and I mean, we could pick on him for what he's done, but he's done a good job of cornering the market on Bitcoin, right? And changing that cycle and introducing the institutional money. And I always thought, watching what happened with the price of Ethereum and the cost of gas and how everything played out, that there are certain parties looking to replicate Bitcoin as Ethereum, so as a store of value, right?
Right.
And so it kind of sets you up for this potential of having it's already a blue chip, but a blue chip asset, which also allows people to build on it. Because Ethereum is the same code, right, as what we're using on Pulsion, relatively the same, anyways. But the idea that I could actually put myself in the place of someone who might go build over there, I might actually be able to build things and do things that I can't do on Bitcoin.
Right.
What do you think? What do you think about that? The idea that it really does have utility; it's just not tapped yet.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard like the phrase said many times before, like, Bitcoin is digital gold and Ethereum is compute, or it's digital oil. I think that we've always had that arrangement with Ethereum, that it was easier to build on. It was easier to do DeFi stuff with. I mean, like for a while in like late 2023, they tried to make Bitcoin DeFi a thing, and it was just so bad because it takes like an hour to send anything. It takes an hour to do anything on Bitcoin. So you would think, well, that makes Ethereum more attractive to institutions. And I know that they're interested because they talk about it nonstop. It's a pretty big talking point in TradFi as well. And on CNBC, always talking about, well, Ethereum. And they have Tom Lee on a whole bunch. But I think what's given institutions so much hesitation is just how terrible the price chart has been this past year or this whole cycle. Because as much as like we don't want it to kind of be, I mean, like we all kind of say, I mean, the only person this is true for is Fast Abdul. Nobody's really here for the tech. It's only true of Fast Abdul.
And
I'm here for the tech.
Most people are here to make money and however they can. And when we have a chart that's just been sideways for at least the past 2 years, well then what institution is going to be excited about that? What investor, what retail person is going to be excited about that? And we got to understand the importance of charts because you're constantly seeing coins rebrand themselves. I mean, why would they do that? I mean, Phantom rebranded to Sonic.
I liked Phantom more.
Yeah, I liked Phantom better just because of like how easily identifiable it was with like its Halloween theme. But
yeah.
Why did they do that? Why did they do that? Well,
I was looking for the hedgehog, man, when they went to Sonic.
Yeah.
Where's the hedgehog?
Yeah.
Well, it was confusing about that was like the day that they launched was actually the day that Sonic, the third Sonic movie came out. So that probably caused a whole bunch of confusion, which they were probably hoping to like grift off of perhaps. But like, why did they do that? Well, it's because in, I think it was 2023. Yeah, it was 2023. They had a very nasty exploit through a product called multi-chain that really wrecked their chart, really wrecked their TVL. So they understood, well, if they want to be taken seriously and get a lot of institutions involved, they've got to rebrand and start with a whole new chart. Same went for Polygon. They used to be the symbol Matic, and then they switched over to POL, is because they wanted to be taken seriously. They knew they needed a whole new chart because you can't have the chart that's like it goes all the way up here and then boom, right down there. Same going with Hex on Pulse Chain. I think that's also part of like what Richard Hart was wanting, a whole new chain and a whole new version of Hex. I mean, like, why not just let people migrate their Ethereum Hex to Pulse Chain? Because you could easily migrate your Phantom tokens over to Sonic and convert them. Like, why didn't he do that? Well, he wanted to have a whole new one because it would be a whole new chart and not something that would be connected to the old chart, because everybody recognizes that charts, it's part of human nature. It's what we look at, not just here in crypto. I mean, yeah, it's the first thing people look at in crypto when they are looking up a coin. The first thing they look at is a chart. It's not just in crypto. It's in TradFi as well. When you look up a stock, one of the first things you see and the first things that your eyes, as part of human nature, is directed to is the chart. And that chart gives you it unless you're very aware of it, unless you're hyper aware of it, it biases you. It has you start to think a certain way, like, oh, because the chart looks like this is not a good coin. This is not a good investment. So that's how important these charts are. This is why Ethereum is suffering, because they apparently don't think the chart matters.
What is that, Fast Abdul? Why are you doing that?
We being punched here?
My 18 karat gold lion ring with ruby eyes and mouth.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thought you were threatening me for a second.
I think he was.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I was thinking I was getting punched here. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very true stuff, but it's do you think the traditional finance saying that they will collateralize crypto assets for loans, how do you think that's going to play out?
I think that's a long way away. It's a long way away here because of how volatile that crypto is. There's not going to be too many TradFi people that are going to be cool with that, because you'd be looking at a ton of margin-like liquidations and all of that. And just looking at like using margin for stocks, a lot of firms, the majority of firms, are very restrictive of that. Yeah, they don't approve everybody that wants it, unless you go to like some unless you go to some place like Interactive Brokers or Robinhood. But if you go to like any of the big firms, Charles Schwab, Fidelity, and everything, they don't approve everybody that seeks to trade
So
Yeah,
we kind of assume
Oil,
that's going to be Bitcoin, Ethereum, maybe Solana, XRP, those type of things, right? I don't think it's going to be everything for sure, but I do think that might create some holders.
Yeah, could. I mean, I imagine them first doing it on stable coins because stable coins have the regulatory clarity. Oh, yeah, here's another prediction for next year. I don't think the Clarity Act gets passed. Don't think that happens because there's going to be probably another fight for the to avoid a government shutdown. Could possibly even have a government shutdown. And then once we get through all that drama and potential drama heating up in Venezuela, it's a potential we're going to war here with Venezuela. Once we get through that drama too, it's going to be too close to the midterms for them to have a vote on the Clarity Act. Now, don't let not your heart be troubled, because I don't think the Clarity Act was bullish or bearish or had any bearing at all on the performance of crypto.
Our resident Canadian made a funny face at warring with Venezuela.
Why are you guys going to war with Venezuela?
You just
oil.
You
Why
know
would we go
that
to war at all? It's oil.
You would like to go to war with somebody, but Canada doesn't have an army.
We do have an army. We have a decent army. It's mostly medics and like rescue helicopters, but we got a whole bunch of them.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you exactly why here, because you see what it all boils down to. Like, this is true of just about everything, whether it's all investments, any investment that we're talking about, all of economics, all of politics. It all traces back to one thing: energy. There's a limited supply, or a perception of a limited supply, of hydrocarbons out there. And for governments to be able to distribute those hydrocarbons or regulate those hydrocarbons or make sure that those hydrocarbons are used in the most efficient, beneficial manner, that's where money was made. That's how money was created. That's why it's so tightly regulated. That's why it's such a big deal, because it's all about the expense of energy. And because of the ideas that they're trying to do with AI, that they're trying to do with the economy in general next year. I mean, they want to run the economy very hot, but particularly for AI, all these data centers, which currently the grid cannot support, they're going to need a lot more hydrocarbons than they currently have. Now, how bad is it? Here in the United States, we're pretty fortunate because we only use about maybe 40 exajoules of hydrocarbons each year, but we're able to produce 80 of them, which is great for us right here. Because you take a look at the situation over in Europe, they are going through probably about 38 exajoules of hydrocarbons, but they only produce 3. So they rely much on the market for the overall world market of oil, natural gas. Like, natural gas is a bigger thing out there in Europe than anywhere else, and that's why like their loss to Russia is going to be so devastating for Europe as well. But
yeah, well, that's how they heat their houses in Northern Europe, is with natural gas, and it's all coming out of Russia. We have a lot of natural gas in Canada too, and we use it to heat our houses. That's the main use. It's hard to move. Like, you can liquefy it, but it's really expensive and not very useful. What Canada does have, though, is the most high-grade uranium in the world. So I'm bullish on uranium, on nuclear power.
Yep. But I think like a lot of what this Venezuela thing is that Trump realized he didn't have what we call escalation dominance in a couple of areas so far this year in his presidency. Like with the tariffs that he had to back down on, particularly with China, it was because he realized, well, he just didn't have the cards to force China to do what he wanted them to do. When it came to the Israel-Iran war, technically, like, even though it doesn't look like Iran was the victor, technically they kind of were the victor, because they got more out of the agreement that followed than the United States and our allies. So it was because we just didn't have the escalation dominance to say, you will do this, you will make your unconditional surrender, yada, yada, the things that you say during war. Instead, a peace deal had to be brokered. Same goes for this war here in Ukraine with Russia. We don't have escalation dominance. I mean, we could end the war tomorrow if we wanted to. All we got to do is just stop supplying the Ukraine with intelligence briefings, or stop sharing intelligence briefings, and then immediately the Ukraine loses and becomes a piece of Russian territory. But of course, that's not how we want things to go. We don't have the escalation dominance to make Putin back down. So they're looking for a victory in some way where they do have escalation dominance, and they find that in South America, that's where they do have all of the upper hand. So like there was a tariff announced, I think, on Colombia at first, and then Colombia said, "Oh yeah, well, we're gonna do a tariff too," and then we escalated. We announced a much bigger tariff, and then Colombia immediately backed down.
Because what's coming out of Colombia, whereas with like Canada, for example, it's like you're buying as much stuff from us almost as we're buying from you, so it's not as useful. I have another theory on the Venezuela thing though, that may not be popular. I think it's about Trump's third term.
You think he's going to
So
try to do a
sitting
third term?
president? Well, legally, no, unless there's a war on, and then a sitting president can stay during the war, can continue his presidency in a time of crisis, like when there's a war. So a nice little war with Venezuela. Trump does another 4 years.
We did
Could be
have
good for our
that
bags.
under Franklin Delano Roosevelt. We did have that, but like right when Franklin died, when he died in office, when FDR died, his body wasn't even cold before Congress passed a law saying, "Hey, the president can only serve 2 terms no matter what." So he'd have to override that amendment to the Constitution in some way. Don't believe that there's an emergency clause in any of the amendments or the Constitution
I
itself
don't
where
think
he
it
could.
wouldn't be a third term. It would just be like would stay in power, is my understanding. So it wouldn't be an official third term. It would just be like, they wouldn't run an election during a war with Venezuela.
Yeah, could happen. I mean, I would never say never in this world here. Some things I would need to I would need to see like resolve to consider that though is like how are these midterms still going to go? Because like these midterms are really going against him right now, and unless he's doing as much as he can to please the voting public, he's going to be a lame duck for his last 2 years at best, or he's going to be going to jail at worst. Because you see, when the Democrats come back in, they will be doing a lot of impeachment. They will be doing all that lawfare stuff that they were doing before. They want him in jail. They will be pulling all of that. And also, like, crypto will be under some pretty intense scrutiny, I think, if things escalate, because they're going to say, well, he was using this crypto market to enrich himself in addition to using his powers as president for it. So it's very important that he gets his head out of his butt and realizes just how much is on the line next year. Because if he doesn't get the economy roaring on all cylinders and everybody starts feeling richer, well, then he's definitely going to lose those midterms. He's going to be in a lot of trouble. And I think crypto could be in a lot of trouble too if that happens. I don't think that happens, though. I think that he realizes, oh, yeah, I mean, these people tried to kill me twice. So I do need to get my head out of my butt here and make sure everybody feels a lot richer. That's where I think will be some of the motivation or some of the reasons behind the money printers getting turned on, or him slamming his fists on the desk saying, "You will turn these money printers on." There's still a lot more obstacles that would have to be overcome for that. But what else I'm going to be interested in seeing is just how the Supreme Court starts treating him, because I do believe that they rule against his tariffs, and that shows that they're willing to kind of part ways with this is supposedly a conservative Supreme Court that Trump supposedly owns because he appointed half of the people on there. But if they start ruling against him, first with the tariffs, and then second with the Lisa Cook thing, I mean, if they let her stay on the Federal Reserve Board of Governors, that is an enormous obstacle to having the vision and the economic agenda that Trump wants. In that case, we will be kind of doing a constant Hail Mary prayer for a great emergency to happen for there to be any sort of recovery in crypto. Because if we get her off the board, well, then we got nothing to worry about.
Well, I think Richard Hart for president. That's probably the answer. He's American. He should put his name in.
Yeah, well, let's see about
Frank White put in Gavin Newsom, and I got to tell you, Frank, if you put Gavin Newsom in our chat one more time, I'll put the ban hammer on you, buddy. Don't ever type the words Gavin Newsom in our chat ever again.
Well, let's bring this up here, guys, because you see, something that I'm very frustrated, or I guess you could say uncomfortable with, is the idea that so many people have on, like, we desperately need Richard Hart to be doing X, to be doing Y, to be doing Z for the ecosystem to pump. I mean, he had a recent tweet here where he said, hey, I'm not as powerful as you guys think I am. I appreciate that y'all think I'm so great, but I can't make these things go up here. Just like, how the founder of Ferrari can't make Ferrari go up, or Rolex, they can't make their watches go up in price here. Like, there's greater economic forces here and everything. So I had asked, not just in the spaces last night, but also on my X, that what is your non-RH reason for investing or believing in the RH ecosystem? Because you're going to be tested. You're going to be very tested in your conviction of the RH ecosystem. I mean, you have all throughout this year, you've been tested, because this whole year has sucked. I think we're going to have a very volatile year next year, and you're going to be tested in your conviction as well. And don't think that you can, like, rely on Richard doing anything to stabilize or make the prices go up. Certainly cannot rely on the SAC funds being used to pump the price, because every other coin that has attempted to do that, I mean, even when we attempted to do that, it backfired. So you need to know what it is you hold and why you hold it.
Interesting.
That's a good way to enter next year.
There you go.
Absolutely. Man, if you need the added conviction, I know that Pop and Fast, you had also gave us some reasons, like what's your non-RH reason for believing in the RH ecosystem. But if you need reasons for that, I mean, I could stand here and like filibuster about that all day. Maybe we want to go over that here. Like, we want to go around the table and say, what's our non-RH reason for believing in the RH ecosystem?
Pretty much just trustless DeFi is the gist for me.
Yeah, me too. The tech, right? Like, it's, like we have good tech on Pulse Chain. We can have more. We can have anything that's on Ethereum can be built on Pulse Chain, and it's cheaper and faster. So, like, it's a great place for the tech. So I think that standalone, that plus the community, which is kind of RH associated, but like not really. Like, he hasn't been around for a couple of years, and the community is still here. So, like, yeah, I think the tech and the community are great things for Pulse Chain.
I've said this before. Fast and I build stuff all the time, and we were building stuff when we didn't know if Richard Hart was ever coming back. So I am completely fine with building on this chain if Richard Hart never made another appearance. I would love to see him be more active, like he's been as of late, right? Do streaming and blah 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 blah, right? But I am not a sack daddy guy waiting for Richard Hart to dump freaking $500,000 into Pulse Chain and watch everything go through the roof. I think that time may come one day, but I don't think it's vital. I don't think it's necessary for our success.
I don't think so either, but I think that time may come sooner than later, just based off of things that I see happening. I think Prove X could be part of that. I have some theories on that, and I think he's, it's all about timing, right? And he understands that. It's all about the greater market as well, which is, maybe a little less bullish, according to Cairo. But like, if we had $6,000 Ethereum and Prove X was out, I bet you we would see a lot of transactions coming to Pulse Chain via ProveX. And I think that's why he's building ProveX, is partially to, facilitate himself getting onto Pulse Chain with some, some level of privacy.
Yeah. See, that's the other thing here about Ethereum is, like, I think that we're more dependent on like Ethereum doing a thing than we are on Richard doing anything at all. Because you see, if Ethereum goes up, and I think this is a big part of like, why he invested some of the SAC funds in Ethereum here, is that it was believed that Ethereum was going to go up because it just got the ETF and the institutions are interested in it. But if Ethereum goes up, well, then transactions on Ethereum get more expensive, and then people will be looking for alternatives and alternative chains. And that's not necessarily going to lend itself to people looking at Solana because it's not the same thing, or looking at Sui or some of these other new hot popular chains that everybody is going, "Ooh, I want that." They're gonna be like,
There's
"Well,
no
I want to
good
do what I was
DeFi
doing
on
on
those chains.
Ethereum."
Like when
What
the
was that you said,
boomers come
Jess?
in, they want DeFi. Like they want stable coins. They want to be able to farm things, all that kind of stuff that like Pulse Chain is made for, that Ethereum is made for. That Solana, like there's very few DeFi projects on Solana compared to meme coins. Like it really is a pump and dump chain. And it breaks down once every month or two.
And they
Which is
roll
not a
it back.
problem that we have.
Well, think about that, buddy. You and I have put together liquidity forks, for example, right? What if I was taking a loan at the time the chain rolled back? What
It'd be immense, yeah.
what would freaking happen there, bud? So I deposited all my SOL and I got all my stable coins, and then they rolled the chain back. And then when the chain rolls back, usually it takes a dive. So when the chain fires back up, maybe I have my SOL back in my wallet. Maybe the stable coins have disappeared, but the SOL that's in my wallet is now worth less than when I took a loan. It's absolutely it's bonkers if you work that through. I've often thought about launching a liquidity fork on Solana, but that part right there, I think is sketchy, and it's not like something that happens every now and then. This is a regular thing. It happens multiple times a year. That happens. Some form of breakdown and a rollback or something like that. Um, I don't trust it.
Exactly.
Agreed.
Like, there's no reason to. If you're an Ethereum user, you're far different from a Solana user. So where are you going to go other than something that is a fork, a hard fork of Ethereum that acts a lot like it, or you can do things, the exact same things, because it acts just like it, except it acts better because it actually does what it was advertised to do. And this is my non-RH reason for believing in the RH ecosystem is I don't even have to look that far back. You remember the worst day in crypto this year? I mean, we all kind of like it's a day that will live in infamy practically. You all remember
April Fool's Day?
not April Fool's Day, close, because that was the what they call Liberation Day or Retardation Day, however you look at it. But 10/10 was one of the worst days, and that was it was very personal to me because I was on stream the whole time while the 10/10 shakedown was happening. And I'm watching like this whole thing, and at first I'm trying to like buy some stuff, but like all of the fees everywhere had spiked up, except in one place, Pulse Chain. If you compare the performance, compare the performance of the Ethereum chain, not just the Ethereum price, but the Ethereum, the blockchain, to Pulse Chain, the blockchain, it's a competition that is just like, if you're thinking in terms of like Mortal Kombat, Pulse Chain would have a flawless victory in that competition because Ethereum gas prices spiked up to like $500 per transaction while the price of Ethereum is going down. How in the hell does that happen? Like, if its price is down, shouldn't the fees be lower? No, not on Ethereum. Over on Pulse Chain, though, everything was running just as intended. We didn't have any fees get spiked up. It was still 0.15 cents on average per transaction. We didn't have all this congestion that was clogging up the chain. The price performance even of the native L1 token, it got hit, but it didn't get hit that bad. Like Ethereum was down 20%, Pulse Chain only down 4%. So to me, the fact that Pulse Chain not only does everything Ethereum does, but does it better, that is my reason for believing in this ecosystem further into the future, even though I do think the first half of next year sucks. I'm not selling my coins. I'm still going to continue to believe in my coins because when this whole thing turns around, we're going to turn around right with it. I mean, like 2024. I mean, you think of like how good that year was. There was like 2 specific times that were good about that year, and that was March and April, and then November, December. Those were really good times for no matter what you were invested in, it was going up. And that's how it should be in a bull run. No matter what you're invested in, practically, everything is kind of going up, some more than others. But even us in Pulse Chain, we had some of our best returns in those times back in 2024. I mean, I was really excited. I was like, oh my God, what's this green candle stuff? I don't even remember what this is here because we had just been kind of like getting hot off of the Gensler candles from 2023. So it was great to like, I mean, we still had that SEC FUD out there too, because like the trial wasn't won yet, but we still had, when the entire market was going up, we were going right up with it because a rising tide lifts all boats. And that's why I'm not worried about Pulse Chain. That's why I'm not worried about any of the coins out there. I mean, the only thing I'd be worried about is like if Vitalik never gets his act together, then that creates a stain on just the word altcoin that will take a very long time to overcome and will take like a lot of dramatic action to overcome. Because if we get to a point here where like, Ethereum never goes up, that stains all of altcoins. But once those money printers are going, when those money printers are fired off, that's the rising tide. That's going to lift all boats. We got nothing to worry about. And all throughout 2025, matter of fact, the very first interaction I ever did with Pulse Chain publicly, when RH Max put me on the map on his very first Pulse Chain conference, that was the subject of my speech. It was like, hey guys, we're not missing out. Don't worry. The whole market is sucking. The whole economy is sucking. We're not uniquely or fundamentally doomed or damned, or we're not going to miss out on anything because the rising tide lifts all boats. And when you say, well, if that's true, why Pulse Chain then? I mean, you could have literally invested in anything and it's going to go up. Sure. But something's going to go up.
That was my introduction to Cairo, was that conference. That was pretty awesome. Spiel, but I love that.
And while everything will go up together, some things are going to go up more than others. And what goes up the most is the thing that has the least amount of liquidity. And I remember like the OA did something about liquidity not too long ago, or at some point this year, right? Earlier in 2025, like the OA, they did something, right? You guys remember what it was?
Reduced ink inflation.
Reduced ink inflation. What else did it do? Particularly with Hex.
Oh, it's staked a bunch.
That's right. Yeah, so that means there's a lot of Hex that was available to buy is now no longer available to buy, because when you stake, you burn those coins, removing them from the market. And this was the thing.
Yeah, but that wasn't really like in terms of liquidity. Like the OA wasn't selling that Hex anyway, so I wouldn't say it affected the liquidity situation so much as the staking situation, which reduced the amount of coins that were coming on the market from other stakers that weren't the OA. Does that sound about right, Crispy?
Yeah. It reduced the yield from staking rewards, right, Crispy?
It did. It changed. It changed the game.
Didn't we have a problem? Yeah. Didn't we have a problem beforehand where people were taking the rewards from staking? They would restake the principal, but then sell the rewards, selling down the chain and or selling down the asset, wrecking the price chart and reducing the liquidity for it. Wasn't that a problem until like the OA stepped in?
Well, some would tell you it's still a problem, right?
I mean, yeah, but like,
because you still have those first 5 years of stakes that have an awful lot of Hex that haven't ended yet. But I don't know if it's a perfect example, but I look at it like a 15-year cycle, and the first 5 years are done. And the people who believed in the first 5 years got an up, got a huge amount of hex in terms of rewards. And that's what they get for being true believers or believers at that time. I've been kind of framing it up as people who participated were believers in hex staking specifically, right? And now what you have is a much more refined group of people that are staking hex. It's not nearly as many people and not nearly the same extent, but as you're pointing out, the rewards that are coming out are such that it's going to create a supply crunch in the future.
Exactly.
Right now, is it going to be 5 years? I don't know. Will it be 4 years? Will it be 7 years? I don't know. I have to watch and see. But what we can observe, and this is what I do like about the X ecosystem. I mean, of course, I'd like to have higher APY, right? But I understand why. It might be set up this way. Today, those people who are early stakers, if they stake all of their hex, including all of the rewards, they get about the same number of T-shares. It varies. Each case is individual, which means they're able to continue to earn. But if they've now turned to non-believers and they sell, well, they get their one shot at a sell in a very illiquid market. They could hold liquid and also be diluted, which some of them do.
Mm-hmm.
But it creates it has nothing to do with price, right? This conversation doesn't really have to do with price, other than the obvious that when people sell, the price goes down and all that. It has to do with who is going to have the most hex. Now, always the big stumbling block is, well, God, if the OA is getting all the hex, that's a concern, but it's a feature, right, of hex, not a negative. And so, even though I can look up the charts and we show them, and people look at them and they see how hex is coming out in the future, they're like, wow, yeah, but look at all this hex that's going to come out, right? It's becoming less and less user hex. And that group of people is more and more refined. And so if you're on team OA and you're thinking the OA is not going to screw over the ecosystem, which of course some people say it already did, right? But that's besides the point, right? But and not going to dump all that on the market. What you have is a much smaller group of people that are in place to accumulate a much greater percentage of the rewards, player versus player.
Exactly. And what the only move that the OA can do right now, or like the most impactful move that it could do, would be emergency unstake. Now, if it did that, well, that rewards a lot of the other stakers.
Well,
that would be bad.
On the surface, it would appear that way. I don't think that's one of the strategies, but it's one to consider, right? But who gets all that hex? Half of it would immediately go to the OA.
Rewards.
Yeah, it goes to the, I think 90% of it goes to the OA. Well, half of it to start with goes to the OA, and then 90% of what would get distributed to all users goes to the OA. And so it's a very interesting flywheel, because essentially the OA could be doing emergency end stakes and send hex to itself.
Yeah, but it wouldn't really be in the interest of the OA to do that, because basically it's just going to chop its position, its dominance in half. And like you've watched the history of the OA and like its behavior and everything. I mean, would you say that it has any interest in doing something like that?
I would never say never, because I think it could do that if it was in its best interest to reward the holders of new hex stakes.
Okay.
Right. It would be in because what it would be doing is reinforcing that. Now, I have no idea. I have no idea what will happen. So we have to go based on what we're seeing, and we have all these stakes that are out there with the OA. And in fact, we'll find out in March, right, when the first big one comes out, has the OA's behavior changed?
Okay. See, I goad you a little bit. Yeah.
It's going to have this big stake come out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And will it it could do a lot of different things, but it could restake for Quattro Cinco.
Mhm.
It could do nothing and maintain its flexibility, its mobility, and start building up its lever in terms of having hex, and just because people will go to count it and just hold it there. So we'll have to watch and see what happens in March to see what happens. But I think what you're onto, which is very strong, is that, and then I had gotten a message from Johnny Cass, a shout out to him about this. What we're seeing now is that short-term stakers, they have to extend a lot.
That's right.
They can't get the same number of T shares, right? So when I was making the comment before, if somebody's been in for 2,000 days or 3,000 days, that's a whole, I guess we're not 3,000 yet, but if you've been in, 2,222 days, which is about where we are right now, um, that's one set of users. You do a 7-day stake, you can't get anywhere near the same number of T shares. You have to go out further, or restake everything, or you have to add more hex. And so we're in a period of time now, I believe, where short-term staking is going to be exceedingly, I don't want to say punished, because it is the use case for hex, but you don't have as much power to just gain short-term hex and sell it on the market. It's going to become less and less of the overall picture.
That's right.
Are you getting cold? Are you getting cold fast?
Yeah, my heat went off. So I'm gonna have to solve that problem, but I'm good. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. It's not distracting at all. So just keep dressing like an Eskimo. Yeah.
Are you wearing oven
Do what we
mitts?
gotta do.
He's wearing oven mitts.
Hey, Fast and I were
These aren't
talking
oven
about
mitts, man. Look at my mitts. They keep me warm.
Fast was talking the other day. We were talking about this the other day or maybe it was even last night. What do you make of the idea that 75% of the stables that are on the Pulse chain aren't even active right
I mean,
now?
like they're
I
not
mean,
in
they're
any
not
type of
they're not
protocol?
even in LP, man.
Yeah, they're not in any protocol at all. They're just sitting there.
Just sitting there, right?
That's so weird. Why would you do that?
These were bridged in
I-
stables, right?
yeah, I can think of a few reasons why I would do that.
Okay.
Yep.
You know,
I think
and one
they're
of them,
waiting. They're waiting to buy.
one of them is waiting to buy for the right time to buy, for the right
Yeah,
time.
but just even doing a stable pair, like something over on a Tide or Fux, right? Would get you some APR on those stables. I don't understand people that just let that stuff sit and marinate.
Well, I think the white elephant in the room maybe is this idea, or pink elephant in the room is the idea that perhaps those are market makers that are waiting for the right time to thicken liquidity and or to buy the assets. You know, and I'm sure it's a collection of different types of people. But,
Some of them could, in theory, even be Richard Hart. I would theorize that.
I always wonder about Richard Hart having Twitter alts, and which ones are they? Probably.
Oh yeah,
I guarantee he does.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, for sure.
And is it a CryFag account?
Yeah. Well, he just posted the other day that he goes into negative tweets and blocks people that like are participating in other people's negative tweets. So he's probably not doing that with his own account. He's probably has some research accounts, we'll call them.
100%. Happy New Year to Smo and SJ. Nice to see you in here. And Ja, if I had known you were in Florida, buddy, when I was out there visiting with Rack, I would have DM'd you, bro, and we would have gone and got some food.
SJ, we're going to be needing a lot more of your positivity, I think, for the next 3 months. The next 3 months are going to be very tough.
Well, between SJ, Smo, and Susie Q, we have our positivity factor handled. I think those three can put a positive spin on
The
most things.
Charlie's
We just need
Angels.
SJ to be a little freer.
I think I have some positive predictions. Like I think personally that ProveX, the token at least, is going to come out very early in January, like probably in the first 2 weeks. And then there could be significant financial action tied to that, which probably will be on Pulse Chain and probably will be paired with Pulse Chain assets, and that will be extremely bullish, draw some eyeballs. And I think shortly after that, the ProveX app will come out, which will allow for a lot of funds to move to Pulse Chain. I have a theory
You
that
think
could
that
be
quickly, buddy?
incentivized to get people to do it.
You think that quickly it's going to come out?
It could, like, for as far as we know, the tech is already built. Like we don't know that it's not. As far as the token coming out, like he's pretty much said that the token will come out before the tech. Which it's a $16 million sacrifice set. Like, it's kind of like I could probably figure it out with Excel in like 2 days on who gets what. Maybe a crappy 2 days, but it's totally possible. So it won't be like the PulseX sacrifice where it took like 3 months and 17 engineers to figure out the distribution. It can be super quick, right? And then like the actual protocol, like we know it's a fork. There'll probably be some improvements, but like I suspect there would be a base, like a minimum viable product that would come out, and then improvements and or add-ons for that product could come out later. And like as far as a heavy lift goes, like I looked into it enough, and I'm not a dev. I'm dev adjacent, but like building ProveX is a heavier lift than building PulseX, heavier lift than Hex in some ways, though not original. So that makes it lighter. But it's not heavier than running a whole chain like Pulse Chain, right? So, and assuming he's got the same devs working on it, like 2-3 months, I don't see why they couldn't have it done.
This is somewhat.
What do you think, Triplet?
I think Glockmatics is when we're trying to be positive, he's saying that we shouldn't have even an expectation of being alive tomorrow. That's not cool, bro.
That's kind of positive.
It could be a threat, but
I'm going to tell you guys a story on this, which is was a little scary for me, right? I went to Panama and I caught with a fast, right? We went there to see Randy and did the whole no permissions thing, and I caught a horrific cold, an illness, and it was so bad that they CT'd my chest when I got home, and they found on one of my lungs I had a very tiny nodule on it. And I'm going, oh, that's not good. And a whole bunch of other garbage. But I just went and got another one a week ago, and I got the results, and everything's fine. So it was kind of cool. That was my Christmas present. Everything's fine. Everything in my lungs all cleared up.
That's great.
Yeah, it was awesome. Mr. Hexastani, how are you, sir?
What's going on, gentlemen?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, guys.
What's up, dude?
Happy New Year.
Yeah, we're just
What's
reliving
Who's
all
in
the
here?
best moments.
Yeah? I'm cooking dinner.
Oh, what you making? What's on the
I'm
menu?
making tacos.
Nice.
Nice.
Yes,
Going
sir.
into the new year with tacos there, or ending the old year with tacos, that's a solid thing right there, bud.
Yeah. Got some cake going too. So it's good. It's good stuff.
Yeah, good stuff. Happy New Year to you too, Hex Glenn. Hex Glenn has given me a Cohiba cigar once.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was very nice.
Nice.
It's a good call. Good call. We might want to wrap this up a bit. I think people are starting to go into cooking mode and stuff like that. It is 6 o'clock on the East Coast.
Dylan first about his either future predictions or a recap of the past.
Yeah, that's true. Hexasani, what was your recap of 2025, and what do you see 2026 coming in as?
I'll say 25 was you know, it was supposed to be the year, guys, you know, like that was the year. But I guess ETH had some other plans, you know what I'm saying? So you know, didn't pan out as expected, I suppose. But I don't know. I think the Fed's getting more dovish. Maybe 2026 has something better in store for us. I'm gonna be a little honest, guys. It's a little bleak right now. You know, I've never really seen the what's it called? The sentiment this pretty fucking bad, honestly. Like you know,
How can it be
it's pretty.
this bad and we still have like a 90K Bitcoin though, right? Like, you know,
I know,
it wouldn't
right?
have been that
It's crazy.
long ago that we were celebrating that.
Yeah, that's very true. And I mean, you know, precious metals are doing some funky shit. You know, maybe that's telling of, you know, the belief in the dollar is kind of going down, which you would think that would translate into crypto. But you know, I think retail is just really fucking broke right now, guys. Like just in general.
Yeah, like people got to have incomes and enough disposable income to even think about investing to
Yeah.
even, you know, get to our coins here. But also with those precious metals, a lot of that, a lot of the buying that's pushing those up isn't even from like American investors or Canadian investors or like retail
Yeah.
investors. It's all those foreign central banks that are buying it up because when Biden was president, when the Ukraine-Russia war broke out, we confiscated Russian money in American banks and American treasuries. So we basically told the world, hey, if you got money in U.S. treasuries or
Yep.
if you got money in U.S. banks, that money's not yours. And
Yep.
so now people are they are leaving the treasuries and going into gold in particular. Silver appears to be correcting along with many of the other precious metals like palladium and platinum and everything because those are industrial metals. We would not be able to function as an economy if those things stayed at the current prices that they're at. But I do think gold goes higher because a lot of people are thinking, well, let's use gold as like the kind of your investment portfolio needs a gas pedal and a brake pedal. Typically, stocks have been the gas pedal and bonds have been the brake pedal. But now people are thinking, well, since treasuries are not that great anymore, or we don't want treasuries and bonds are not inversely correlated with stocks, people are using gold as a replacement for that. And I think that that's actually kind of brilliant to be doing that because it is somewhat inversely correlated to risk on assets. Just look at how gold's going up now while the most risk on asset crypto has been going down.
Yeah. And I think also a good portion of it was just the AI boom, right? It just kind of stole the heat a little bit from crypto. It's like, why are you in Bitcoin if your returns, you know, year to date are what weren't they almost negative or some shit? And you got, you know, Nvidia and AMD and all those guys just outperformed this year and last year and so on and so forth. Pretty wild, man. Wild
And
times.
they're so heavily in profit too. It's kind of insane
Yeah.
the money.
And you don't have to worry about fucking liquidity over there either, you know, like trillions of dollars traded all the time.
Yeah, not just that, but also that passive bid that reinforces it because everybody's an index fund investor. So as these
Exactly.
get bigger, they feed on themselves and get bigger and bigger.
Yep. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't agree more.
Fast Abdul's investing in Sorels.
Yeah,
I
Sorrel's
don't even know
where
what
it's
the fuck
at.
that is. What's that?
These things they last forever. This is like a 10-year-old pair of Sorrels. Keep your feet
How's it
warm
smell?
and dry.
Oh, boots. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sexy
those are
boots.
cool. Yeah, those like snow boots, man.
I think you would die if you wore these where you live, Dylan. It wouldn't work out.
Yeah, I'm. It's like what 60 degrees over here. It's not that bad, but I'm inside with a fucking a hoodie and a sweatshirt on. So
A hoodie and a sweatshirt.
yeah, yeah. Over a stove, like fuck. My skinny ass it does not do good in the cold.
Yeah, my blood thinned out too. I can't handle anything below like 50 anymore.
Yeah, I'm good. Florida boy, too cold for me, man. But yeah, 2026. So I think we'll, let's see how Puvex does. Let's see if that turns the ship around. If not, I don't know what's going to happen. If I just don't know. Hard to see. It's hard to see
Do you think
the
Prevex
plan
is going
here.
to come out right away, like in January?
Probably. Again, I don't know, but my guess probably late January, early Feb, maybe. I have no idea though. So don't hold me to it. But I don't know.
Buck's pool
So-
did really well. That was awesome.
Yeah, it did. Thank you. Yes, we did. We did really good, and everybody that joined should be really happy. So yeah, I'm glad that I hope Richard appreciates that a little bit.
And
Yep.
that
So-
pool is closed now, right? Like people should not send money.
Yeah, don't send money. We will take or Dev said they will take their sweet time sending it back to you. So don't send them nothing.
Exactly.
So
Cairo,
I don't even think you should
appreciate
sack direct, honestly.
you jumping in here with all your knowledge and everything, man. I don't know if I'm following you on Twitter. What's your X account, Cairo?
At BB_tripping, like bitches be tripping. So
Yeah,
that's me.
same thing.
Oh
on
no,
my,
that's Dylan. I'm talking to Cairo.
I'm
following
sorry.
you already, Dylan.
Okay, yeah, my bad.
when the hot girl at the bar was like, "Oh, I wasn't really talking to you. I was here for your friend." Yeah. You had a really cute
Okay,
friend
whatever.
with you. It's the same thing that you see in the corner there, just at reinvent ideal.
Okay.
Yep. So I'll give you like my positives because I think I've been like pretty dark this whole hour here. So I'll give you some positives.
You don't say. You don't
Yeah.
say.
Give you some positives before I head out. So like as the year turns around, we got a couple of things that we can kind of like hang our hats on for positives. And that's this here. First, looking at this year, particularly the past like 2-3 weeks, notice how like Bitcoin, it goes up and then it goes down by the exact same amount it went up. At almost the exact same time every single day. 9:30 when the US markets open up. Anybody got a theory on like why that happens? Anybody know like what's causing that? Because there is a very rational explanation behind it.
No
Seen a
idea.
lot of traditional stocks be doing that, like Reddit Open.
Exactly. See, it opens at 9:30, the traditional markets. That includes hedge funds. And what the hedge funds are doing is what's called basis trades, which means they buy a little bit of the Bitcoin ETF and then they short the Bitcoin futures. And that kind of creates like an interest earning, a basis trade that they would typically do on things like treasuries or a particularly stable stock. They have been doing that with Bitcoin just about all this year because when I pull up the Bloomberg terminal here and I look at the IBIT ETF, the majority of the money that has flowed into it this year has been from 5 hedge funds in particular. So that means there was no retail this entire year. There was no bull market this year. Last time it felt like a bull market for me was back in December of 2024. It's basically sucked all year for me. You see, I'm not just an RH guy. I mean, I've got a little bit of everything, and I can tell you, just about everything out there has sucked, and that's because that's because people don't have the money to go buy our coins. But then, too, the only people that are investing in the crypto space at all are institutions and hedge funds. And that's the only reason Bitcoin made a new high in October. On October the 6th, that was all hedge funds. You can see it on Bloomberg. It shows you that the 5 hedge funds were buying up the IBIT ETF, and that's what pushed the price up to 126,000. So we have not had the traditional bull market year that follows year after the halving in overall in crypto. So we're still waiting for that year to occur. That's positive in my view because there was no FOMO inspired at the last minute that caused like those big parabolic runs towards the end. And you see, when you have like those big parabolic runs, those are actually what cause the year-long bear market, because we have everybody pile in at the last minute as time goes on, and those like the people that are in profit start selling. Those people that piled in at the last minute are not in profit, and they start capitulating and selling, and that takes a whole year to wash those people out. So if we didn't have that parabolic run, we're not going to have a year-long bear market. The other thing that I think is going to be positive for us is that I do think inflation goes below 2% in January. That takes a lot of it takes away a lot of justification from the Fed to be hawkish, even though 4 of the governors on the board of governors want to be hawkish, and probably 7 people on the FOMC still want to be hawkish. They're not going to have much justification for doing it, particularly if the job market deteriorates. So they're going to have to do more rate cuts than what they have in the forward guidance. And the money printer, it's going right now. It's not going by much. I see it increasing kind of like a staircase, a little bit more each month. Next thing is stable coins. I think are going to be like the thing that saves crypto, because now that we have clarity on stable coins, now that we have like the Genius Act, and a lot of the provisions of the Genius Act haven't even gone into force yet. They go into force at the turn of the year. Because we have that, a lot of like the, I guess you can call them Lupin proletariat, if you use Marxist language. The everyday people, the working class in other foreign countries, particularly the global south, they would much rather hold stable coins than their local currency, and they will do that. I mean, they would much rather hold US dollars, but their local governments don't allow them to. It's very hard for their local governments, though, to do money censorship on stable coins and blockchain technology. Like, oh my gosh, people are actually using crypto for what it was invented for. Well, gee, it only took us like, what, 12 years? So that's happening as well. Stable coins, when their market caps go, when a lot more stable coins exist, then what happens is a lot of those stable coins are going to get deployed somewhere, or they're going to get used somewhere. They'll get locked into some DeFi protocols or put into some liquidity pools, and sort of the rising tide that lifts all boats. And the last thing I'd say for like the bullish thing, or the positive things to be happy about or to look forward to, is the fact that the Treasury continues to use short-term T-bills to fund the U.S. government. I explained this on one of my streams before, that if you keep producing T-bills and you don't produce any long-term bonds, that creates a lot of pressure in money markets and repo markets, and that's going to force the Federal Reserve to print more money whether they want to or not. Going back to the whole theory that money printing is what makes crypto go up, there'll be a ton of money printing next year, because so much debt of the U.S. Government's national debt is going to need to be refinanced next year. If they refinance it all with T-bills, a lot of money is going to need to be printed to do that. But last thing I'd say, though, is always bear in mind, what the market loves to do is what makes the most amount of people look stupid, because that's certainly what it did in 2025.
True.
Quick question for you.
Sure.
Do you work for a fund or something, or do you pay for a Bloomberg terminal privately?
I used to work in DeFi, or not DeFi. I used to work in TradFi.
Okay, so you still pay for your own Bloomberg terminal, because you said you had one.
Yep, still do it, because
Wow.
it's 100% worth it.
Okay. Wow. Nice. Okay. Yeah. Which your Twitter is on screen, right?
Yeah, reinvent ideal.
Okay. I'll follow you.
I was following you. It's just like the algorithm does not show me your stuff.
No.
So I'll start interacting, and you'll pop
Shadow
up.
banned. Shadow banning Cairo. What's up with that?
Yeah.
What is up with that?
I noticed that.
How about you, Crispy man? A positive thought from you. We'll go around the horn, and then we'll call it good, so everybody can go have some hors d'oeuvres and champagne and whatever you guys have.
The community's strong.
Yeah, I agree, buddy. I agree.
I think that's where it starts, and I think things will turn. They always do, and the communities needs to come together a little bit better. But that is what it is. I mean, pretty strong as it is. I mean, mostly, except for streams like this, the only people you see are the negative ones, right? And so there is a great silent majority.
Yeah, I agree with you, buddy. How about you, Mr. Wu?
Community's huge because like just looking at 2025, my chart socially like has is probably an inverse of what the PLS chart looks like. So the community is it's more powerful than like people give it credit to. Like what we can do together, just like 12 dudes can like accomplish a lot when it comes to whatever it is, as long as everyone's on the same page. And so like and also I know of a few like big hex whales who are still like massive bulls, and they don't want to be doxxed, they don't want to be known. So there are a lot of big powerful people as well who are bulls and believe in hex, and nobody's ever going to know of them. But yeah.
Agree with that. How about you, Fast?
I think the party's just getting started for Pulse Chain right now, and I think 2026 could be our year. Not financial advice. I have no crystal ball, but like some things are lining up. Like we have some dates on the calendar. We have, some moves that Richard's making. We have Richard being extremely active compared to the previous like 2 years of complete silence. I think we're going to get it all back at once. I think we're going to get Richard doing daily 6-hour streams and all the things people want him to do happening in a very short timeline all at once. And it's just going to overwhelm like the internet, and it will be huge. And I feel like that time is coming soon. It could be in the next 2 months. So I'm going to hold faith myself. Everybody else can make their own choice.
I agree with you, buddy. I hoping that is the case. My only thing is time in the market, right? Everybody, it's very basic. If you've been holding while things are down, selling while it's down is not a good idea, in my opinion. Time in the market, right? We have Warren Buffett that's just freaking calling it quits with Berkshire Hathaway, right? What did that thing go from, Cairo? You probably know off the top of your head. Was like $79 to $750,000 a share over the course of time. That's time in the market. It's freaking unbelievable.
Huge.
Yeah, massive. So I'm sticking around. I'm keeping my course, and still continuing to build for the future. 100%.
And he only makes moves like once every year or a couple years.
Very, very, yeah,
Active.
yeah. He's not a freaking actor.
True.
He buys something to hold it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if he's going to play like an advisory role, senior board member kind of thing, where he's kind of still there. Because like I feel like you can't stop. Like when you're in the markets, it's like one of those things where you just always are. I wonder if he's going to do something like that and then let somebody else kind of run it, but he's still going to be like his eye on it or whatever. I don't know.
Maybe
It's
have
such
Warren
crazy.
Buffett.
The guy is crazy, right? When I watch the expose on him and they put just enough money for a McDonald's breakfast in his Bentleys, and he goes through and gets McMuffins every morning, it just kills me. That guy is a nut.
Yeah,
Well, that's why Trump goes to McDonald's too, because they're like so commercial that nobody's going to be messing with the food.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Good stuff. All right, you guys. Well, we've had 1,180 folks come in and out or still watching whatever they're doing, but we've had 1,180 eyeballs on this. Actually, that
Nice.
would be more.
That shows that people are not really paying attention right now.
It's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. Appreciate all of you guys for coming on
10X
stream on the last day of 2025. Appreciate you guys a ton and hope to have you on in 2026. And we're talking about more positive things, Cairo.
Here's to a more positive new year.
Yeah. Now we can actively just try and break all of Cairo's bearishness. See if it
Yeah.
It's only bearishness for the first half. I do think that once we get through the next 6 months, well, then it could be up only from there, unless Vitalik messes everything up.
Yeah, we'll get him in a room. We'll work him over and make sure that
Yeah,
doesn't.
we'll work him over.
Yeah,
I think we're gonna have Richard Hart on this show in 2026. That is my prediction for the future.
nice.
And I can ask him.
I like
to
that
unblock
prediction.
for my bad meme.
And everybody that's watching this, everybody that's been active in chat, Susie Q, Hex, Glenn, Bright Light, all those guys. Thank you very much for watching Pulse Chain Times over the last year. It's been kind of a work in progress. We really appreciate you big time. Thank you very much.
Triplet, real quick. Darth wanted me to pull up his chart at the end of this.
All right, pull it up then.
Okay. So Darth was on the stream earlier. He has a staking protocol that he's built with a quant that is unnamed because they don't want to be doxxed. And his token is called Your Mom, and he just launched a sorry, hold on. He just launched another token, and it's called DTGC. So he just wanted to highlight that he couldn't stay on the stream.
There we go.
There we go.
Very nice.
So that's DTGC. It's just a week old. Okay, let's
get a little chill in the mix. Hope that goes well for you in 2026, Dark.
Yeah, hope it goes well, dude.
Yeah. Appreciate you guys. All right, with that, you guys, I'm going to take us out on some welcome to crypto. I think that's a old school, and we'll get those vibes going and see what we see in 2026. Thank you, everybody.
Good to meet you guys.
Pleasure streaming with y'all. Have a good new year. All right, so everybody that has stayed with me throughout this stream over on my channel, all 130 of you on X, and how many of you on all the other platforms? I don't know, it doesn't show me here on Rumble. I want to show you something. I have a free gift for every single one of you. No, it's not the one that I've promoted and pushed a bunch of times before. It is a different free gift here. Let me show it over here to you. Make sure that it's showing here properly. Head on over to my X account, and the link is there. You can have this book 100% free. It's called Millennial Moses, Liberation for the Sabotaged Generation. So if you are a millennial or a Gen Xer, all you gotta do is just either pull it up on Amazon or pull it up on my X account, and then it'll take you right here. So long as you have an Amazon account, you can get the Kindle edition of this book 100% free. Costs you absolutely nothing. And I think you will thoroughly enjoy it because it's written to be a very enjoyable and very funny read as well. Let's have just a quick peek at the markets here before we wrap up. Anything good happening here? Not really. It's kind of been a sideways day. Literally, it's been a sideways day. And it's just a sideways market. We're still going down the slopes here on Pulse Chain. I think that we do add a new 0 to the right side of the decimal on all these coins here in the next 6 months. But let not your heart be troubled. That is not the end of the story. We will recover from that in the... I do believe that the final 6 months of next year will be much better than the first 6 months of next year, because that's when I think the money printers really get going. It wasn't really a great day in traditional finance either here. TradFi had a pretty down day. And when we look at what I'm thinking is the most important thing to look at here is this USD to Japanese yen ratio. And right now it's at 156. We should be worried when it gets to 157, 158, because when it hits 160, that's when the Bank of Japan is going to step in. The dollar is going to get stronger throughout the first half of next year, which is not good for assets that are denominated and priced in dollars. You will see the dollar index probably go up to 99, possibly even a flat 100 before it starts going down again. Interest rate environment, 4.16% on a 10-year treasury. Is that up to date here? Yeah, that is up to date. That doesn't look good. We don't want that 10-year treasury up that high. I mean, if it's going to go high, well, then let's have it above 5% so that the Fed stops screwing around and realize, hey, we got to turn the money printer on because there ain't no way that the United States can afford all this debt. Hopefully, like if it's going to go high, it goes that high, and it goes that high real fast because that's trillions of dollars of panic that's happening there. And if that's the case, well, in that case, then yeah, they got to turn on the money printer to push that yield down. But some positivity, real positivity here. Man, I can't, they think I'm bearish. I'm not bearish. I'm the least bearish guy out there because I do believe next year is going to be the year that we had hoped 2025 would be. But here's some good news. The Fed's money printer is going. It's not by much, not yet. I mean, so far, all that this represents is about $45 billion that's been printed. But look at the rate of change. Rate of change on this is going to be incredible. And the rate of change is what the risk on markets respond to. You see, it's not always the amount of money being printed, but how much more it was this month as opposed to last month. How the rate of additional new dollars to the economy in circulation, that matters a lot more than how many dollars they're printing. The rate of change, when we take that chart and overlay it with Bitcoin or really crypto in general, you can see it's almost a perfect relationship, or it's got a very high correlation of about like 0.9 or 90% correlation coefficient between the rate of change in money printing versus the price action in Bitcoin and crypto. So I still think that 2026 will be a much better year than 2025. Of course, that's not saying much, but I think that anything that's positive is good, considering what we've been through 2025. I think that we're going to be waiting on like a really catastrophic emergency for them to get the money printer going at the rate I want them going to. But that could easily happen. Absolutely, that could easily happen. So let not your heart be troubled. I do believe next year will be a great year. And you just got to, if you're doing what I'm doing, you're just stacking stables. And you just got to tough it out for the next 6 months. And then I think things get better. I think things get better after the next 6 months. That's all I've got to say for tonight. So I know a lot of you are worried out there. I know that what I say about Vitalik and Ethereum paints a very scary picture. And I bring it up because it could happen. I'm not saying it's going to, but because it could happen, I feel it is my duty to tell you that it could happen. Because bad things don't go away just because we don't talk about them. They can easily happen. Let's name the monster in the room. I wish that no. Wishing is not right. Not when we're looking at people that are going to possibly lose everything that they ever saved. Now's not the time for wishes. Here's what I want to say. I want all of you to know that I believe in God. I know a lot of you out there don't, and that's all right. And a lot of you out there do, and that's all right too. I think when it comes to the Ethereum Foundation totally botching all of crypto, when it comes to something like that happening, with Vitalik really dropping the ball and altcoins become dead forever because of it, I think something like that, God would not let that happen. I don't believe he would. So, here's to 2026. May it be a much better year. It will be a much better year than 2025, I believe. And Don't know when like the next stream will be in the next year, because like whenever the year rolls over, I got a lot of business obligations to take care of, such as the taxes and everything. So it might be a while before I get to stream again. But 2025 being behind us. And that is it for us today. Happy New Year. Good night.